Welcome back to Who Died Today USA channel. In the past few days, we have received somber news about the passing of extraordinary talents. Today's episode is dedicated to honoring their memory. Additionally, we will recap the stars we have recently lost. Before we begin, we kindly ask for your support. If this video or the legacies of these remarkable individuals have touched your life, please consider giving this video a thumbs up as a sign of respect and remembrance. Thank you.
1.
Basha's ends The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. End of an era or the beginning of the end of late-night TV. In a revelation that has sent ripples through the entertainment world, CBS has confirmed it will pull the plug on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert in May 2026. This is no ordinary cancellation. This is the termination of an American television institution and, perhaps more profoundly, the fading of one of the last great voices of nightly cultural satire. The decision doesn't just impact a time slot, it marks a personal and professional turning point for Stephen Colbert, a performer who evolved from sharp-witted character actor to trusted truth-teller during one of the most divisive periods in modern U.S. history. With this announcement, CBS concludes over 30 years of The Late Show brand, first pioneered by David Letterman in 1993, and in doing so, ignites broader questions about the viability of late-night programming in the streaming age. But just as importantly, it forces audiences to reckon with what the loss of Stephen Colbert means for the public dialogue. Stephen Colbert began his national journey as a correspondent on The Daily Show, delivering satire from behind the mask of a fictional conservative pundit. That persona, wielded with surgical comedic precision on The Colbert Report, made him a star. But when he took over The Late Show in 2015, he shed the character and stood, for the first time, as himself. It wasn't an easy transition. Colbert struggled in the early months, his earnestness still finding footing against the backdrop of a genre known for slapstick and celebrity antics. Then came the 2016 election. On a night that changed political history, Colbert's unscripted reaction to Donald Trump's victory struck a chord. He pivoted into unapologetic political satire and never looked back. From that point, Colbert became a nightly anchor for viewers disoriented by fake news, polarization, and political whiplash. He delivered laughs, yes, but also clarity, comfort, and an unwavering defense of democratic norms. His blend of humor and humanity solidified his place not just in entertainment, but in the cultural conscience. CBS claims that the cancellation is a financial decision. Plunging ad revenue and costly production have made The Late Show, once a cornerstone of profitability, a budgetary strain. Still, skepticism abounds, especially since the announcement came mere weeks after CBS parent company Paramount settled a controversial lawsuit with Donald Trump. Colbert, a longtime critic of Trump, ridiculed the settlement on air as a big fat bribe. Days later, the show's fate was sealed. To many, the sequence of events appears more than coincidental. Senator Adam Schiff, a recent guest on The Late Show, openly questioned the network's motivations, suggesting the public deserves to know if politics played a role. The controversy only heightened the emotional weight of Colbert's on-air announcement. With visible restraint, he told his studio audience, "Next year will be our last season. I'm not being replaced. This is all just going away." In a media environment flooded with hot takes and reactionary content, Colbert stood apart for his substance. He used the monologue as a lens, focusing on truth with the precision of a satirist, but the conscience of a concerned citizen. In moments of national crisis, from the Capitol riots to school shootings, his commentary was often more compelling than cable news. For his staff and viewers, the show's end is personal. Colbert helped maintain a shared national experience, one of the few remaining nightly rituals in an on-demand world. His rapport with audiences felt less like performance and more like communion. The network's exit from late night began subtly. James Corden's Late Late Show was axed in 2023. Earlier this year, After Midnight, produced by Colbert, met the same fate. Now, with Colbert's departure, CBS relinquishes its hold on the late-night legacy it helped build. This is not just a scheduling adjustment. It's a seismic withdrawal from a cultural battlefield. For decades, late-night shows were America's barometers, measuring and mocking the day's temperature before sending viewers off to sleep. Now, CBS plans to fill the slot with reruns, entertainment perhaps, but not conversation. Why now? The economics of late night have indeed shifted. Gen Z and millennials consume clips on YouTube or share jokes on TikTok. The magic of live nightly appointment television has faded, and yet it's not just about where audiences are, it's about what they need. In an era of disinformation and disillusionment, Colbert offered a rare combination of intellect, irony, and integrity. He was a counterweight in a media sphere increasingly dominated by outrage and spectacle. Over nearly a decade at The Late Show, Colbert interviewed presidents, scientists, actors, dissidents, and activists. His desk became a place where comedy met conscience. He never shied away from his Catholic faith, his beliefs about justice, or his affection for the absurd. Colbert also redefined vulnerability in late night. He spoke openly about grief, especially the loss of his father and two brothers in a plane crash during his youth. He infused segments with personal meaning, allowing audiences to see the man behind the wit. Even as the show ends, Colbert's influence will endure. His method of elevating dialogue without losing humor sets a high bar for whoever dares to follow, and that's if anyone dares. With late night shrinking, the question isn't just who will replace him, but whether late night in its classic form still has a place. The Late Show has carried America's cultural pulse since the Clinton administration. From Letterman's absurdist edge to Colbert's political bite, it has reflected generational changes in what and how we laugh. The show's cancellation marks the end of more than a program. It closes the book on a storytelling tradition rooted in nightly intimacy. With its departure, we lose more than satire. We lose connection. Stephen Colbert's final season will air through spring 2026, and when the curtain falls, it won't just signal the end of The Late Show. It will punctuate a fading chapter of television history. In the space that remains, we may find new voices, but the silence will be deafening. The lights will dim, the audience will rise, and a man who made us laugh, think, and question will take his final bow on one of the most storied stages in media history.
Two.
Connie Francis, the soaring voice behind classics like Who's Sorry Now and Stupid Cupid, passed away on July 16, 2025, at the age of 87. A towering figure in American pop history, she rose to fame in the late 1950s and early 60s, becoming one of the most commercially successful female vocalists of all time. Her death was confirmed by her longtime friend and label president, Ron Roberts. The cause of death has not been disclosed. Born Conchetta Rosemarie Franco Nero in Newark, New Jersey, Francis's career was shaped by both talent and tenacity. At 14, she recorded demo tracks for other artists. By 1958, with Who's Sorry Now, championed by Dick Clark, she became a national sensation. Her string of hits and multilingual recordings, sung in Italian, Spanish, Japanese, and more, reflected her international appeal. Despite her glamorous success, Francis's personal life bore deep scars. She endured a traumatic rape in 1974, which led to a long period of depression and legal battles. A failed nasal surgery robbed her of her singing voice for years, an identity-shaking loss for someone who once said, "My voice was who I was." She faced repeated institutionalizations before being correctly diagnosed with PTSD in 1991. The sudden loss of her brother to gang violence, multiple miscarriages, and 4 failed marriages added to a legacy not only of fame, but of resilience. Her lifelong regret over losing her great love, Bobby Darin, remained a quiet ache. Even late in life, Francis found unexpected joy. In 2025, her 1962 hit Pretty Little Baby went viral on TikTok, touching a new generation. Her humble response, "What's a viral hit?" reflected her enduring charm and disconnect from modern fame. Francis is survived by her adopted son, Joey. Her legacy lives in the emotion-laced voice that once soared across radios worldwide, and in the courage she showed in the face of life's harshest trials. As she once said, "I'd like to be remembered, not for the heights I've reached, but for the depths I've overcome."
Three.
Joanna Bacon, a revered figure in British theatre and television, best remembered for her roles in Love, Actually, and Breeders, has passed away at the age of 72. Her death, following a short and courageous battle with cancer, occurred on June 14, 2025, as confirmed by the Harlow Theatre Company, her longtime artistic home. Bacon began her artistic journey not on the stage, but behind a publishing desk. It was only after retraining at the Actors Institute that she fully embraced her calling. Her debut as Jane in Steaming marked the start of a decades-long career defined by quiet resilience, wit, and emotional honesty. From Portia in The Merchant of Venice to Jackie in Breeders, Bacon's range was expansive, yet grounded in deep emotional truth. In film, she reached a global audience through her role as Natalie's mother in the holiday classic Love Actually, 2003, a performance that, though brief, resonated for its warmth and authenticity. Yet Bacon's heart remained rooted in the theater. A founding member of the Harlow Theatre Company since 1978, she graced its stage in dozens of roles and supported it steadfastly until her final days. Behind the scenes, Jo was known for her critical eye, her supportive spirit, and a notebook always in hand during performances. She watched not for flaws, but for growth, always eager to uplift others. Friends recall her as someone who radiated kindness without pretense, who carried her successes with humility and her battles with quiet dignity. Though she never sought the spotlight, Joanna Bacon's legacy is luminous. She lived and performed with purpose, embracing her craft not as a path to fame, but as a way of connecting, feeling, and honoring life itself. She leaves behind a body of work marked by emotional depth, and a community forever grateful for her presence.
Four.
Michael Madsen was a charismatic American actor, born on September 25, 1957, in Chicago, Illinois. Coming from humble beginnings, with a firefighter father and a mother who became an Emmy-winning filmmaker, Madsen rose to prominence through sheer grit, developing a signature tough guy persona that captivated audiences. His breakout role as the menacing Mr. Blonde in Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs became iconic, solidifying his place as one of Hollywood's most compelling character actors. He would go on to work with Tarantino on multiple acclaimed films, including Kill Bill, Volume 1 and 2, The Hateful Eight, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, building a creative partnership that left an indelible mark on modern cinema. Beyond Tarantino's work, Madsen amassed more than 340 film credits, with standout roles in Donnie Brasco, Sin City, Thelma and Louise, and many more. His performances blended edge with emotional depth, earning him both admiration and longevity in the industry. Tragically, Madsen passed away recently at the age of 67. He was found unresponsive at his Malibu home, and his death was attributed to cardiac arrest. Remembered not only for his fierce screen presence, but also for his poetry, photography, and soulful introspection, Michael Madsen leaves behind a legacy of raw talent, artistic passion, and unforgettable performances.
Five.
Kenneth Colley was a distinguished English character actor born on December 7, 1937, in Manchester, England. Over a remarkable six-decade career, he became a familiar face to film and television audiences, most famously known for portraying Admiral Piet in Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Colley's haunting, humanized portrayal of the Imperial officer earned him a rare return in the franchise and made him a beloved figure among sci-fi fans worldwide. Beyond Star Wars, Colley gained critical acclaim for his memorable role as Jesus in Monty Python's Life of Brian, and for his long-standing collaborations with visionary director Ken Russell. He portrayed complex historical figures in Russell's controversial and stylized films, including The Music Lovers, Mahler, and Listomania. With a signature melancholic gaze and understated intensity, Colley brought layers of emotion to roles ranging from Adolf Hitler to Chopin, Nelson, and Napoleon. Tragically, Kenneth Colley passed away on June 30, 2025, at the age of 87 after battling COVID and pneumonia. His loss marks the end of a profound era of British screen and stage. Admired for his depth, range, and quiet brilliance, Colley leaves behind a legacy of unforgettable performances that continue to inspire both audiences and actors alike.
Six.
James Carter Cathcart was a beloved American voice actor born in 1954, best known for his iconic work in the Pokémon franchise. Over the course of more than 2 decades, Cathcart gave voice and heart to some of the series' most recognizable characters, including the ever-curious Professor Oak, the mischievous James of Team Rocket, and the unforgettable Meowth. His versatility and passion brought warmth and humor to millions of fans around the world, becoming an essential part of Pokémon's global success. Tragically, Cathcart passed away peacefully on July 8, 2025, at the age of 71, following a long battle with illness, including a terminal diagnosis earlier that year. His death was confirmed by his wife, Martha Jacoby, in a heartfelt post shared on a Facebook fan group dedicated to Cathcart. She expressed that he was surrounded by those who loved him most during his final moments at Calvary Hospital in the Bronx. In addition to his voice work, Cathcart was admired for his talent as a musician, writer, and cherished friend within the voice acting community. Tributes poured in from fellow cast members, remembering him as a kind, joyful, and generous soul. James Carter Cathcart leaves behind a legacy of unforgettable characters and a profound impact on generations of fans across the world.
Seven.
Rachael Lillis was a cherished American voice actress born in 1969, best known for bringing to life 2 of the most iconic characters in the Pokémon universe: Misty, the spirited gym leader and Ash's close companion, and Jessie, the flamboyant and unforgettable villainess from Team Rocket. With her dynamic vocal range and flawless comedic timing, Lillis quickly became a standout in the anime world, captivating audiences since Pokémon first aired in the US during the late 1990s. Beyond Pokémon, she voiced other fan favorites like Jigglypuff and appeared in a wide array of anime series, including Winx Club, Sonic X, and Revolutionary Girl Utena. Her ability to seamlessly transform into vibrant and emotionally rich characters earned her deep respect and admiration in the voice acting community. Tragically, Rachael Lillis passed away recently in Los Angeles at the age of 55 after a battle with breast cancer. Her death was confirmed by her sister to the New York Times. Tributes from colleagues and fans alike poured in, honoring her beautiful voice, warmth, and unmatched talent. Though her voice has gone silent, Rachael Lillis's legacy continues to echo through generations of fans who grew up with her beloved characters and the joy she brought to screens around the world.
Eight.
Maureen Hingert was a graceful actress and trailblazing beauty queen born on January 9, 1937, in Colombo, Ceylon, now Sri Lanka. Her path to Hollywood began when she proudly represented her country as Miss Ceylon and earned second runner-up at the 1955 Miss Universe pageant, the first ever to be televised. Her elegance and charisma captivated audiences and helped bring international attention to her homeland. Soon after, Hingert stepped into the world of cinema, appearing as one of the royal wives in the 1956 musical classic The King and I, starring Yul Brynner and Deborah Kerr. Under the stage name Joanna Bacon, she went on to take more prominent roles in westerns like Gun Fever, 1958, and Gunmen from Laredo, 1959, portraying Native American women with strength, poise, and grace. Her film credits also include Fort Bowie, The Rawhide Trail, and numerous television appearances before she gracefully retired from acting in the early 1960s to focus on raising her family. Tragically, Maureen Hingert passed away recently at the age of 88 due to liver failure, as confirmed by her daughter, Marisa Zamparelli. She is remembered not only for her beauty and talent, but for the cultural bridge she built, opening doors for South Asian women in Hollywood and leaving behind a legacy of quiet strength and timeless elegance.
9.
Richard Rick Hurst was a talented American actor born in 1945, best remembered for his lovable role as Deputy Cletus Hogg on the hit TV series The Dukes of Hazzard. With his gentle smile, impeccable comedic timing, and good-natured charm, Hurst brought warmth and humor to every scene, quickly becoming a fan favorite during his run on the show from 1980 to 1983. Hurst's acting career spanned both television and film, with appearances in series like Little House on the Prairie, MASH, CHIPS, The Wonder Years, and Melrose Place. He also starred in the sitcom On the Rocks and appeared in notable films including Steel Magnolias, The Karate Kid Part 3, and Earth Girls Are Easy. Beyond the screen, he was known for his generosity and joy when connecting with fans at reunions and conventions across the country. Tragically, Rick Hurst passed away recently at the age of 79. His death was confirmed by his first wife, Candice Kaniecki, and fellow Dukes of Hazzard star Ben Jones. The cause of death has not been disclosed. He is survived by his son, actor Ryan Hurst, and his 2 ex-wives. Rick Hurst leaves behind a legacy of laughter, kindness, and a place in the hearts of those who grew up with Hazzard County. Joe Marinelli was a gifted American character actor born on January 21, 1957, in Meriden, Connecticut. Known for his distinctive roles across daytime television and primetime drama, Marinelli made a name for himself on popular soap operas such as Santa Barbara, Guiding Light, and General Hospital. His portrayal of the cross-dressing mobster Bunny Tagliotti on Santa Barbara from 1988 to 1990 earned him lasting recognition for both his boldness and sensitivity as a performer. He later brought complexity to characters like Paulie Hardman on Guiding Light and Joseph Sorrell on General Hospital, while also appearing in acclaimed projects like Sideways, The Morning Show, House, Desperate Housewives, and The West Wing. Across more than 50 screen credits, Marinelli was celebrated for his emotional depth, quiet strength, and generous spirit, both on and off camera. Tragically, Joe Marinelli passed away recently after a battle with throat and stomach cancer. His death was confirmed by both his wife of 34 years, John Marinelli, and his agent, Julie Smith. Remembered as a philosophical soul, a loving father, and a passionate artist, Joe Marinelli leaves behind a legacy of heartfelt performances and the admiration of colleagues, friends, and fans alike. The Vivienne was a dazzling British drag performer and entertainer, born James Lee Williams in 1992 in Wales. Rising to prominence as the winner of RuPaul's Drag Race UK Season 1, the Vivienne quickly captured the hearts of fans with their sharp wit, flawless performances, and undeniable charisma. Their success on the show led to appearances across television, stage, and international drag circuits, making them a beloved figure not only in the UK, but worldwide. They later became the only non-American contestant invited to compete on RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars Season 7, a testament to their global impact. Known for their fierce artistry and warmth offstage, the Vivienne used their platform to advocate for LGBTQ+ visibility and mental health awareness, earning admiration beyond the drag community. Their performances, often laced with humor, vulnerability, and theatrical brilliance, solidified them as one of the UK's most celebrated drag icons. Tragically, the Vivienne passed away recently at the age of 32. Their body was found at their home in Cheshire, having reportedly been in the bathtub for a couple of days before discovery. A formal inquest confirmed the cause of death was cardiac arrest due to ketamine use, and it was ruled a misadventure, an accidental overdose. Gone far too soon, a rising star whose light was only just beginning to shine. Their loss has sent shockwaves through the entertainment world and LGBTQ+ community. The Vivienne leaves behind a legacy of courage, beauty, and unforgettable artistry that will live on in the hearts of fans across the world. Shannen Doherty was a legendary American actress born in 1971 in Memphis, Tennessee, whose unforgettable presence on screen left an enduring mark on television history. Rising to fame in the early 90s as Brenda Walsh on Beverly Hills 90210, Doherty became an icon for a generation. Bold, beautiful, and unapologetically herself. She later cemented her legacy as Prue Halliwell, the fierce and protective eldest sister in the hit supernatural series Charmed, a role that resonated deeply with audiences and established her as a one-of-a-kind TV big sister. As Prue, Doherty embodied both strength and vulnerability. She was the sister you could rely on, the leader who set the standard, and the witch who gave demons hell. Her portrayal of Prue went beyond fantasy. She became a symbol of resilience, responsibility, and feminine power. To fans around the world, especially those who grew up with her on screen, she wasn't just a character, she was family. Tragically, it's now been 1 year since Shannen Doherty passed away at the age of 53, following a long and public battle with stage 4 breast cancer. Her death, on July 13, 2024, was confirmed by her longtime publicist, and it sent waves of grief across the entertainment world and beyond. Gone far too soon, a rising star who never stopped shining. Even in her final years, Doherty was outspoken, resilient, and full of purpose. She fought for her right to live fully, to work, to inspire, and to redefine what living with terminal illness could look like. Her spirit, strength, and fierce authenticity continue to inspire not only those who knew her personally, but also the millions who grew up watching her break boundaries on screen. Shannen Doherty will forever be remembered, not just as a star, but as a force. A legend whose legacy lives on in every episode, every scene, and every heart she touched. Richard Simmons was a vibrant American fitness icon born on July 12, 1948, in New Orleans, Louisiana. With unmatched energy, flamboyant charm, and heartfelt motivation, he became a household name in the 1980s through his hit workout videos, Sweatin' to the Oldies, and his Emmy-winning show, The Richard Simmons Show. More than just a celebrity trainer, Simmons was a cultural force, bringing joy, self-acceptance, and movement to millions who had long been excluded from traditional fitness spaces. His journey into wellness stemmed from personal struggle. Once an overweight child, he turned his pain into purpose, launching the Beverly Hills gym Simmons and writing best-selling books like Never Say Diet. Throughout the 80s and 90s, Simmons became a staple on talk shows, sitcoms, and Capitol Hill, advocating for health education with his signature sparkle and sincerity. Tragically, Simmons passed away nearly 1 year ago, on July 13th, 2024, just one day after his 76th birthday, from injuries sustained after a fall. He was found at home by his closest confidant and longtime house manager, Teresa Reveles, who had been by his side for over 35 years. In her first-ever television interview, Reveles described Simmons as my everything, my friend, my family, my world, and recalled how deeply loved and full of joy he remained, even in his final moments. Gone far too soon, a larger-than-life spirit who lived to uplift others. Though he spent his final decade away from the spotlight, Simmons never stopped caring. Through social media, he reminded fans to embrace life, stay active, and never stop loving themselves. Richard Simmons leaves behind a legacy far beyond aerobics. He inspired a generation to move, to smile, and to believe they mattered just as they were. Julian McMahon was a versatile and charismatic Australian actor born in 1968. Whose presence on screen captivated audiences around the world. Best known for his role as the complex and brooding Cole Turner on Charmed, and as the charming yet morally conflicted Dr. Christian Troy in Nip Tuck, McMahon brought depth and intensity to every character he portrayed. He also left his mark on the big screen as Victor Von Doom in Marvel's Fantastic Four films, showcasing a range that spanned both cult TV and blockbuster cinema. Tragically, McMahon passed away recently following a private and courageous battle with cancer. According to reports, the cause of death was lung metastasis as a result of metastatic head and neck cancer. He died peacefully, surrounded by loved ones. His wife, Kelly McMahon, described him as a man who loved life, loved his work, and brought joy to so many. Gone far too soon, a rising star whose light never stopped glowing. In the wake of his passing, tributes from colleagues and co-stars poured in. Fellow Charmed stars Alyssa Milano, Holly Marie Combs, and Rose McGowan honored his memory, as did Nicolas Cage, who had recently worked with McMahon on The Surfer. Remembered for his talent, warmth, and quiet strength, Julian McMahon leaves behind a legacy of unforgettable performances and a deep impact on both fans and peers across the world. Breaking news. In an industry defined by reinvention, few names have navigated comedy, creativity, and comeback quite like Ben Stiller. Known for his razor-sharp wit, wildly expressive performances, and daring directorial choices, Stiller has spent decades balancing absurdity with sincerity, on and off the screen. But behind the laughs and box office hits lies a story far more layered. one marked not only by privilege and legacy, but by health battles, professional risks, public vulnerability, and the quiet rebuilding of a life, both personal and public. You might know him as the clueless male model in Zoolander, or the hapless nurse in Meet the Parents, or the action-mocking filmmaker behind Tropic Thunder. But what happens when the punchline ends, the lights dim, and the very body delivering laughs must confront its own fragility? And what does resilience look like when it grows from both family fame and private hardship? Ben Stiller's journey is not just a highlight reel of blockbusters and Emmy nominations. It is a study in adaptation, shifting from leading man to producer, from spoof to prestige drama, from red carpet glam to quiet hospital visits. His story reminds us that legacy is not only what you perform, but how you persist. So how did this son of Hollywood royalty grow into one of the most versatile and quietly influential figures in modern entertainment? And why is his journey especially relevant today in a time when health, honesty, and humor have never mattered more? Stay with us as we explore the remarkable transformation of Ben Stiller, from prodigy to powerhouse, from private pain to purposeful presence. You may think you know him, but the real story is just beginning. Before he ever held a script, before he ever stepped onto a film set, Ben Stiller was already part of a show. Born on November 30th, 1965, in New York City, Benjamin Edward Mira Stiller entered a world of studio lights, laughter tracks, and late-night rehearsals. His parents, Jerry Stiller and Ann Mira, were not just performers. They were a comedic institution. As the beloved duo, Stiller and Mira, their sharp banter and heartfelt timing lit up variety shows from The Ed Sullivan Show to radio sketches heard across America. But at home, they were simply mom and dad, making matzo ball soup in the kitchen and running lines at the dining table. Growing up on Manhattan's Upper West Side, young Ben had a front-row seat to the magic and madness of show business. But it was not always glamorous. He watched his parents ride waves of fame, then struggle during quieter years. He saw auditions that ended in rejections, comedy clubs that closed their doors, and friends who disappeared from the circuit. It was a lesson in early on. Talent might open doors, but persistence and reinvention keeps them open. Ben was not just an observer. As a child, he began filming mockumentaries on Super 8 film, roping in friends and even his sister Amy to act in elaborate home productions. He would design sets, write dialogue, and direct with a seriousness far beyond his years. His idols were not only comedians, but auteurs, people like Martin Scorsese and Steven Spielberg. Comedy came naturally. Craft became an obsession. His education in entertainment was immersive and often informal. He attended film sets more often than playdates. He met legends in green rooms. He understood the mechanics of timing and audience response before most kids mastered cursive. But there was always the quiet pressure of legacy. Being the son of Jerry Stiller and Ann Mara meant carrying a name that already held weight in comedy circles. For Ben, that was both a gift and a challenge. From his earliest years, Ben Stiller was destined to perform, but not just in the way people expected. He was not satisfied with standing in his parents' shadow. He wanted to build something new, something truly his own. And that journey would take him from crowded New York stages to the heights of Hollywood and back again. As the 1980s unfolded, Ben Stiller found himself standing at a crossroads. Gifted with raw talent and surrounded by show business, he could have easily coasted on family connections. But from an early age, Ben showed little interest in shortcuts. What he craved was mastery. After high school, he enrolled at the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, seeking formal training in film and theater. But the traditional classroom structure quickly paled in comparison to what he had already lived. Before completing his first year, Ben dropped out, not out of apathy, but urgency. Hollywood was calling, and he was ready to answer on his own terms. His early 20s were marked by a series of creative experiments. He made short films, wrote sketches, and studied the rhythm of comedy like a language. One such short, a parody of Martin Scorsese's The Color of Money, called The Hustler of Money, caught the attention of Saturday Night Live. Ben joined the legendary show's writing staff in 1989, a breakthrough moment for any young comic. Yet, it proved brief. His preference for filmed sketches clashed with the live audience format. After just 5 episodes, he walked away. But that creative tension only fueled his ambition. Soon after, Ben launched The Ben Stiller Show, first as a short-lived series on MTV, then revived on the Fox network in 1992. It was a bold, postmodern variety show that blended sketch comedy, parody, and self-aware Hollywood satire. It was brash, niche, and, critically, ahead of its time. The show skewered everything from teen dramas to indie cinema with a wink and a punch. Though it was canceled after 1 season, the show left a deep impression. It earned an Emmy Award for Outstanding Writing and introduced a new generation of talent, including Janeane Garofalo, Andy Dick, and Bob Odenkirk. For Ben, it was a foundational moment, not just proving he could lead a show, but that he could shape a voice that was distinct, sharp, and entirely his own. More than that, it confirmed a truth that would define his career. Ben Stiller was not just an actor. He was a writer, a director, and a craftsman, someone willing to risk failure for the sake of originality. And though The Ben Stiller Show disappeared from the airwaves, it marked the beginning of a creative blueprint he would return to again and again. By the mid-1990s, Ben Stiller had carved out a reputation as a smart, edgy comic voice. But breaking into mainstream film was a different game, and far riskier. Hollywood had room for funny people, but not always for those who insisted on writing or directing their own path. His feature directorial debut, Reality Bites, 1994, captured a generation grappling with identity, art, and adulthood in the grunge era. Though it received mixed critical reception at first, the film's cult following grew, and so did Ben's credibility as both a filmmaker and actor. He had not just directed a film, he had embodied the uncertainty of young adulthood, playing opposite Winona Ryder with a quiet tension that marked a new depth. But the real turning point came in 1998 with There's Something About Mary. Starring alongside Cameron Diaz, Stiller's portrayal of the awkward yet earnest Ted catapulted him into mainstream stardom. The film's unapologetically bold humor, coupled with Stiller's commitment to physical comedy, proved magnetic to audiences. It grossed over $350 million worldwide and redefined what romantic comedy could look like at the close of the millennium. More hits followed: Meet the Parents, 2000, Zoolander, 2001, and Dodgeball, 2004. In each, Ben played characters straddling absurdity and sincerity. Men fumbling through identity crises, yet always relatable. Whether enduring lie detectors or fashion runways, his performances carried a unique blend of neurotic energy and everyman vulnerability. This period marked Ben Stiller's arrival, not just as a comic actor, but as a bankable star. Yet beneath the laughs, he remained anchored to the themes that had shaped his early work: insecurity, reinvention, and the bittersweet absurdity of adulthood. As the 2000s unfolded, Ben Stiller was no longer just a comedic actor or the son of showbiz legends. He had evolved into something much rarer, a true multi-hyphenate, writing, directing, producing, and starring in films that reflected not only humor, but commentary, ambition, and craft. One of his earliest directorial statements came in 1996 with The Cable Guy, a dark comedy starring Jim Carrey that bewildered audiences at the time. The film, with its eerie tone and satirical edge, challenged the expectations placed on both its director and star. While it initially divided critics, The Cable Guy has since been reevaluated as a bold, ahead-of-its-time entry in the genre, one that foreshadowed the risks Stiller would continue to take as a filmmaker. But it was Zoolander, 2001, that truly cemented his place behind the camera. Born from a short sketch and expanded into a full-length satire, the film skewered the fashion industry with absurd precision. Stiller directed and starred as Derek Zoolander, a clueless but lovable model whose blue steel gaze became instantly iconic. The film's surreal tone, celebrity cameos, and quotable lines gave it cult status, particularly among younger viewers who embraced its self-aware absurdity. Then came Tropic Thunder, 2008, a cinematic high-wire act that took aim at Hollywood itself. As director and co-writer, Stiller orchestrated a layered satire on fame, race, method acting, and the ego-driven machinery of the film industry. With a powerhouse cast including Robert Downey Jr., Jack Black, and Tom Cruise, the movie pushed boundaries and sparked discussion. It earned an Academy Award nomination for Downey and showcased Stiller's ability to blend spectacle with razor-sharp critique. What made these projects unique was not just their humor, but their structure. Ben Stiller had become a director who understood the comedic beat, the visual gag, and the emotional undertone. He could juggle ensemble casts, manage massive productions, and still land the punchline. Behind the scenes, he also became a prolific producer, launching Red Hour Productions, a vehicle for both his own projects and emerging voices. From indie comedies to prestige series, the company gave him control over what stories were told and how they were shaped. In the age of franchises and reboots, Stiller's dual role in front of and behind the camera represented creative independence. He was no longer just reacting to scripts, he was writing the playbook. With each project, he challenged the limits of what comedic filmmaking could say, do, and reflect. Every long career carries its stumbles, and for Ben Stiller, the 2010s delivered their share. The same risk-taking that fueled his most inventive work also led to moments of miscalculation. Zoolander 2, released in 2016, aimed to revive a cult favorite, but failed to capture the original's charm or cultural moment. Critics panned its recycled gags and muddled tone. Audiences responded with indifference. The box office underperformance stung, not just commercially, but creatively. It was a reminder that even icons misstep, and that nostalgia is a fragile formula. Rather than retreat, Stiller pivoted. He turned toward television, first as a director, then as an executive producer. His instincts, honed over decades, found a new home in long-form storytelling. In 2018, he directed and executive produced Escape at Dannemora, a limited series based on a real-life prison break in upstate New York. The show, gritty and atmospheric, was a far cry from his comedic roots. Yet it revealed a filmmaker in full control of tone, pacing, and performance. Escape at Dannemora earned 7 Emmy nominations and solidified his transition into prestige television. He followed that success with Severance, a dystopian workplace thriller that he executive produced and directed key episodes for. The series, lauded for its eerie world-building and psychological depth, became one of the most talked-about releases on streaming platforms. Once again, Stiller proved that reinvention was not just possible, but powerful. In failing publicly, he found new purpose. The comedy star who once mugged for the camera now stood behind it with quieter confidence. By embracing drama, subtlety, and risk, Ben Stiller expanded not only his portfolio, but the expectations of what a comedian could become. For much of his career, Ben Stiller was the picture of tireless energy, juggling roles, directing schedules, and media appearances with characteristic drive. But in 2014, everything paused. That year, at the age of 48, Stiller was diagnosed with a health challenge that forced reflection and recalibration. it was a deeply personal chapter, one he kept private until years later. When he eventually opened up about the experience in interviews, he did so not to dramatize it, but to underscore the importance of awareness and proactive care. The revelation surprised fans. Stiller had never branded himself as a public advocate for health causes. Yet, in his quiet, measured way, he began to emphasize the value of routine checkups, early detection, and listening to one's body, not through prescriptive advice, but through lived experience. The experience reshaped his relationship with time, with family, and with work. He became more selective with projects, more present in daily life. His public appearances took on a more grounded tone, and behind the camera, his direction grew more introspective, more deliberate, revealing the subtle shift of someone who had faced fragility and chosen focus. Importantly, Stiller never used his health as a platform for self-pity or grandstanding. Instead, he became a quiet example of resilience, continuing to work, create, and live with renewed intention. It was not about survival alone, but about using adversity to sharpen purpose. His story serves as a reminder that behind every screen icon is a human reality, one shaped by choices, challenges, and the courage to share when it matters most. In the kaleidoscope of fame, it is often easy to overlook the quiet chapters, the ones that unfold off-screen, far from premieres and press tours. For Ben Stiller, personal life has always run parallel to the spotlight. Sometimes it has clashed with his public persona. Other times, it has anchored him when fame threatened to unmoor everything else. Ben married actress Christine Taylor in 2000 after meeting on the set of a television pilot. Together, they built a partnership that many in Hollywood quietly admired, one grounded not in spectacle, but in shared values, mutual respect, and a deep commitment to raising their children outside the echo chamber of stardom. Their daughter Ella and son Quinn were raised largely away from flashing cameras, with an emphasis on normalcy, privacy, and authenticity. Still, like many long-term partnerships, theirs faced tests. In 2017, the couple publicly announced a separation, prompting speculation and sorrow among fans. But in a turn that surprised many, they quietly reconciled in the years that followed, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, when proximity and reflection reawakened the bond they had once built. Their renewed relationship became a quiet testament to forgiveness, growth, and the evolving nature of love over time. As a father, Ben has spoken candidly about the challenges of balancing career ambition with parental presence. He has shared stories about missing milestones, then adjusting priorities. In recent years, he has emphasized being around more, not just physically, but emotionally. His family, now closer than ever, remains a bedrock. They are not a media brand or a red carpet feature. They are, as he often says, the most real thing in my life. And through them, Ben Stiller continues to grow, not just as a performer, but as a person shaped by humility, healing, and the ongoing work of becoming. Ben Stiller's impact on popular culture is difficult to quantify, but impossible to ignore. For over 3 decades, his characters have left an indelible mark on American comedy. From the deadpan Derek Zoolander and his blue steel stare to the neurotic, well-meaning Greg Fokker, navigating awkward in-laws in Meet the Parents, Stiller has created roles that transcend the screen, entering the language of everyday humor. Audiences do not just watch his films, they quote them, reenact them, and pass them down the Nathur. But cultural relevance is more than quotability. It is about adaptability. And in this, Ben Stiller has excelled. In an industry where comedic trends evolve rapidly, Stiller has shifted gracefully. From broad slapstick to introspective drama, from satirical sketches to prestige television. His work in Escape at Dannemora and Severance did not just reflect his maturity as an artist. It reintroduced him to younger audiences who may have missed his earlier hits. To many, he is no longer simply that funny guy from the 2000s, but a thoughtful director whose creative instincts continue to resonate in complex, contemporary stories. Beyond the screen, Stiller has embraced digital platforms to stay connected. He uses social media not to chase trends, but to reflect, engage, and occasionally satirize the absurdity of the digital age with the same sharpness that once defined The Ben Stiller Show. Moreover, he remains a voice in social causes, particularly through his work with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, where he serves as a goodwill ambassador. In this role, he travels, listens, and advocates, using his fame not to dominate attention, but to redirect it toward those who need it most. In today's fragmented media landscape, where celebrities rise and fall with viral speed, Ben Stiller stands out as a figure who endures. Not because he clings to past glories, but because he evolves, creatively, personally, and purposefully. While Ben Stiller's artistic contributions are widely celebrated, his humanitarian work reflects another dimension, one driven not by scripts or cameras, but by compassion and conviction. In 2018, Stiller was appointed a Goodwill Ambassador for the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, a role he has embraced with sincerity and action. This was not a symbolic title. He has since traveled to refugee camps in Jordan, Lebanon, Germany, Guatemala, and beyond, meeting families displaced by war, poverty, and political unrest. He listens, documents, and amplifies their voices to audiences who might otherwise never hear them. Through both field visits and public advocacy, Stiller has used his platform to humanize complex global crises. His speeches, often devoid of celebrity gloss, focus on storytelling, sharing moments of resilience, fear, and hope from those he meets. "You do not need to be famous to make a difference," he once said. "You just need to pay attention, and then act." Beyond global advocacy, he has supported numerous educational, health, and youth programs. His involvement ranges from fundraising to personal mentorship, particularly in underserved communities. Stiller does not merely donate, he participates. Whether it is visiting schools, supporting refugee entrepreneurship programs, or lobbying for policy changes, he brings both visibility and strategic support to causes that align with his core values: dignity, opportunity, and justice. His philanthropic ethos echoes the best parts of his comedy: thoughtful, unpretentious, and rooted in shared humanity. In a time when performative activism often drowns out genuine effort, Stiller's work stands apart: quiet, consistent, and deeply informed. In merging his fame with real-world engagement, Ben Stiller has extended his influence far beyond entertainment. He reminds us that cultural power is not measured solely by box office totals or streaming stats, but by how well it is used to improve the lives of others. At an age when many actors ease into legacy status, Ben Stiller is doing something else entirely. He is reinventing what legacy can mean. Now, in his late 50s, he is no longer driven by the need to prove himself on every screen. The comedic personas that once defined his fame, Zoolander, Greg Fokker, White Goodman, still hold a beloved place in pop culture. But Stiller has turned the page, choosing to spend more time behind the camera, shaping stories with intention, patience, and creative control. He is actively developing new projects across platforms, from limited series to high-concept films. But unlike earlier stages of his career, today he seeks impact over immediacy. His direction is leaner, more deliberate. His scripts are more introspective, and his choices reflect a man who is just as interested in asking questions as he is in delivering punchlines. Beyond entertainment, he continues to mentor young filmmakers, collaborate with emerging writers, and consult on causes that matter to him, from refugee advocacy to mental health awareness. He serves on advisory boards, speaks at panels, and shows up not as a star, but as a seasoned voice who understands both the craft and the responsibility that come with it. His work on Severance is perhaps the clearest signpost of where he is headed, a surreal, elegant, and unsettling show that blends science fiction with existential inquiry. It is not a departure from Stiller's world, it is a deepening of it. He is now exploring themes of identity, autonomy, and purpose with the same curiosity that once fueled his earliest home movies. Ben Stiller's next chapter is not defined by one role or one genre. It is defined by evolution. And as he quietly charts this new creative path, one thing becomes clear. He is not fading. He is refocusing. Ben Stiller's journey through Hollywood is not just the tale of a comedian who made it big. It is the story of a multifaceted artist who has constantly redefined what success, relevance, and authenticity look like in an industry that often values image over evolution. From sketch shows to global blockbusters, from directing high-concept satires to producing acclaimed dramas, Stiller has built a career marked by both bold choices and introspective pivots. He has never stayed still, never rested on the comfort of familiarity. Instead, he has moved forward with humor, with humility, and with a clear understanding that reinvention is not an act of reinvention alone, but a form of growth. His resilience in the face of creative setbacks, his quiet strength during personal health challenges, and his evolving roles as a father, activist, and director reveal a man who understands that legacy is not just left, it is lived. Through his work with the United Nations, his support of underrepresented voices in entertainment, and his continued artistic risks, he has proven that being funny and being fearless can go hand in hand. Today, Ben Stiller stands not just as a star, but as a storyteller. Someone who has helped shape the comedic voice of a generation while daring to go deeper when the moment called for it. He is proof that the most enduring careers are not those built solely on applause, but those rooted in curiosity, growth, and a commitment to meaningful storytelling. As audiences continue to laugh, reflect, and revisit his work, one thing is certain. Ben Stiller's influence will resonate for decades to come, not just in punchlines, but in purpose.